After 60, your body doesn't forgive shortcuts the way it used to. You lose muscle faster, balance gets shakier, joints complain louder, and suddenly the stuff you did without thinking in your 40s now feels like a negotiation with physics. Most American seniors are told to walk more, lift light weights, maybe try some chair yoga. All fine advice, but here's what almost nobody mentions. In Japan, people in their 70s and 80s are doing a single daily movement practice that takes less than 5 minutes, requires no equipment, and has been quietly linked to better balance, stronger bones, fewer falls, and something researchers call resilient aging. It's not trendy, it's not sold in infomercials, and 99% of seniors in the United States have never even heard the name. We're going to walk through this practice step by step, show you why it works, give you the science in plain English, and then hand you a protocol you can start tomorrow morning. But before we get to that #1 game changer, I want to show you 2 other Japanese movement habits that set the stage, because without understanding these, your body won't be ready for the big one. The second one on this list is something you've probably seen in a documentary and dismissed as too hard or too foreign, but it's actually easier than you think, and it does something remarkable for your hips. The first one, though, that's the one that changes everything. And I'm going to explain exactly why American physical therapists are starting to teach it in fall prevention clinics, even though most of them learned it by accident. Before we go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me how old you are and where you're watching from. I read every single one, and it helps me understand who's in this community. All right, let's start with number 3. Number 3 is something called Ragio Taiso, which translates to radio calisthenics. If you've ever been to a park in Tokyo at 6 in the morning, you've seen groups of older adults doing this together, moving in sync to music that's been broadcast on Japanese radio since 1928. It looks like a gentle aerobics routine, a series of arm circles, knee bends, torso twists, and light jumps, all done standing, all flowing from one move to the next without stopping. The whole thing takes about 3 minutes. Here's why it matters for you. Ragio Taiso is designed to wake up every major joint in your body in a logical sequence, starting from your neck and shoulders, moving down through your spine and hips, and finishing at your ankles. It's not about burning calories or building serious strength. It's about signaling to your nervous system that all your parts still work, that they can move through their full range, and that they're ready for the day. When you do this every morning, your proprioception improves. That's the sense your body has of where it is in space. After 60, proprioception fades. Your brain gets a little fuzzier on whether your foot is flat on the ground or tilted, whether your knee is locked or bent. That fuzziness is one reason falls happen. Ragio Taiso retrains that system every single day. There's a long-running study out of several Japanese universities that followed older adults who did Ragio Taiso daily for 5 years. They found that participants had fewer hospitalizations for fractures, better self-reported mobility, and scored higher on tests of functional independence compared to peers who didn't do the routine. The effect wasn't dramatic in any one year, but compounded over time, it added up to a meaningful gap. One detail that stood out to researchers was grip strength. People doing Ragio Taiso maintained grip better, and grip strength is one of the best predictors of overall longevity in people over 60. It sounds unrelated, but when you swing your arms and twist your torso every morning, you're activating the chain of muscles that stabilize your core and connect to your hands. Everything talks to everything else. Let me tell you about Margaret, 72, retired school librarian from a suburb outside Cleveland. She came to me 2 years ago because she kept tripping over her own feet. Not on obstacles, just on flat ground, like her brain forgot to pick her toes up high enough. Her doctor checked her out. No neurological red flags, just age-related decline in coordination. I showed her a video of Ragio Taiso and asked her to do it every morning for 2 weeks, right after brushing her teeth so she wouldn't forget. She thought it looked silly, but she tried it. After 1 week, she noticed her shoulders felt looser. After 2 weeks, she realized she hadn't shuffled her feet in days. After a month, she told me she felt more awake in the morning than she had in years. Margaret still does it. Takes her 3.5 minutes. She does it in her kitchen in her pajamas. No special anything. Here's your protocol. Go online and search for Raggio Taiso number 1. There are official videos, some with English instructions. Watch it once to learn the sequence. Don't worry about perfecting every move. The goal is flow and range of motion, not precision. Do it every morning, ideally at the same time so it becomes automatic. If you have balance issues, hold the back of a chair with one hand during the twisting parts. If you have a bad knee, skip the little jumps and just rise up on your toes instead. If you have a shoulder injury, keep the arm circles small and pain-free. The music helps because it keeps you moving at a steady pace. You're not rushing, you're not dragging, you're just moving with rhythm. 3 minutes, every day. That's number 3, and it's already more than most American seniors ever get exposed to. But we're just getting started. Because number 2 is where things get interesting in a way that will make you rethink how you sit. Number 2 is called seiza, and it's the traditional Japanese way of sitting on your knees with your shins flat on the floor and your buttocks resting on your heels. In the West, we've been taught that sitting cross-legged or in a chair is normal and anything else is exotic or uncomfortable. But seiza does something your recliner and your couch can't do. It loads your ankle joints, stretches the tops of your feet, engages your hip flexors and glutes in a low-level isometric hold, and forces your spine into an upright posture without back support. When you sit in seiza, even for just a few minutes a day, you're giving your lower body a functional stretch and a stability challenge at the same time. After 60, ankle mobility disappears. Your feet get stiff, your toes don't flex the way they used to, and that stiffness travels up the chain into your knees and hips. Stiff ankles mean you can't absorb impact when you step off a curb or catch yourself when you stumble. Seiza reverses that stiffness, slowly, gently, but consistently. There's observational data from researchers looking at traditional Japanese populations who still sit on the floor regularly. They found that people who maintain floor-sitting habits into older age have better hip and knee function, fewer complaints of lower back pain, and a lower incidence of hip fractures compared to peers who switched entirely to chair sitting. The proposed mechanism is simple. Getting down to the floor and back up again is a full-body movement that requires strength, balance, and coordination. Sitting on the floor, even passively, keeps your joints moving through ranges they wouldn't see in a chair. Seiza is one specific form of that floor sitting, and because it's structured and symmetrical, it's easier to teach and practice than other variations. Now here's the reality check. If you're 65 and you haven't sat on your knees in 40 years, dropping into seiza is going to feel impossible at first, maybe even painful. That's fine. You don't have to go all the way. Let me tell you about Robert, 68, retired electrician from Texas. He had tight hips, cranky knees, and couldn't imagine sitting on the floor without toppling over. I told him to start with a thick cushion or a folded blanket between his heels and his buttocks, so he was only lowering himself halfway. I also told him to hold on to a coffee table for support as he eased down. First time he tried it, he lasted about 20 seconds before his ankles screamed and he had to stand up. But he kept trying, every evening while watching the news. He'd kneel down, sit back on the cushion, hold it for 30 seconds, then stand up. After 2 weeks, he could do a minute. After a month, he swapped the thick cushion for a thinner one. After 3 months, he didn't need the cushion at all and could sit in full seiza for 2 minutes without discomfort. His knees felt better. His hips felt more open. He said getting out of his truck got easier because his hip flexors weren't so locked up. Robert didn't set out to become flexible. He just practiced a position for a couple minutes a day, and his body adapted. Here's your protocol for seiza. Find a carpeted area, or put down a yoga mat or thick towel. Kneel down so your shins are flat and your knees are together or slightly apart, whatever feels more stable. Place a cushion or a stack of folded towels between your heels and your buttocks. Sit back onto the cushion and rest your hands on your thighs. Keep your spine straight and your chin level. Start with 30 seconds. Breathe normally. If your ankles hurt, add more cushion height. If your knees hurt, don't force it. Try again tomorrow with more padding. Over weeks, reduce the cushion height gradually as your ankles and feet get more mobile. Your goal is to eventually sit in full seiza with no cushion for 2 to 3 minutes. Do this once a day, maybe in the evening, maybe while you read or watch something. It's not exercise, it's a position, but that position is working on your body in ways a chair never will. That's number 2, and it's setting you up for number 1, because the number 1 movement we're about to cover requires ankle mobility, hip stability, and a nervous system that knows where your body is in space. Raggio Taiso wakes up your system, Seiza opens up your lower body, and now we arrive at the practice that pulls it all together and has the most dramatic effect on fall prevention and longevity. This is the one that 99% of American seniors have never heard of, and once you understand it, you'll wonder why nobody teaches it in every senior center in the country. Number 1 is a movement called Tanrin Undo, though in some regions it's referred to simply as Ashi Agari, which means leg raising. But that translation undersells what's actually happening. Tanrin Undo is a slow, controlled, single-leg balance drill where you stand on one foot and raise the opposite knee to hip height. Hold it there for a few seconds, then lower it with control and switch sides. You do this for 1 minute per leg, every day, usually in the morning. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but here's what makes it different from just standing on one foot for balance practice. In Tanrin Undo, the motion is deliberate and rhythmic. You're not wobbling or fighting to stay upright. You're moving with intention, breathing steadily, and using your hip muscles to lift and lower your leg rather than just yanking it up. The emphasis is on smooth control and upright posture. Your standing leg has to stabilize your entire body weight while your lifted leg activates your hip flexors, glutes, and core. This dual demand, stability plus movement, is exactly what your body needs to prevent falls and maintain independence after 60. Research from Japanese geriatric rehabilitation centers has shown that older, adults who practice this type of single leg raising daily have significantly better balance scores on clinical tests like the Timed Up and Go and the Berg Balance Scale. In some programs, participants who did Tanrin Undo for 3 months reduced their fall risk by nearly half compared to control groups who did standard strength exercises. The key seems to be the combination of dynamic movement and static balance happening at the same time. When you stand on one leg and move the other, your brain has to coordinate muscle firing, joint position, and weight shifts in real time. That coordination is what fades with age if you don't train it, and it's what this practice rebuilds. But there's more going on under the surface. Standing on one leg loads your hip and ankle joints in a way that stimulates bone remodeling. After menopause in women and after about age 65 in men, bone density drops. Weight-bearing exercise helps slow that loss, but it has to be the right kind of weight-bearing. Walking is good, but it's bilateral and repetitive. Tanrin Undo is unilateral and demands higher intensity stabilization from the standing leg, which means more mechanical stress on the bones of your hip, femur, and lower leg. That stress is a signal. It tells your bones to stay strong because they're still being used. Over months and years, that signal adds up to denser, more resilient bones and fewer fractures. There's also a cardiovascular benefit that surprises people. When you hold a single leg balance and raise the other knee, your heart rate ticks up slightly. Not enough to feel like cardio, but enough to create a mild challenge. Your circulatory system has to manage blood flow to muscles that are working hard to keep you upright. Doing this for 1 minute per leg every day gives your heart a low-level, sustainable stimulus that's especially valuable if you're not doing intense exercise. Some geriatric cardiologists in Japan have noted that patients who practice Tanrin Undo show modest improvements in resting heart rate and blood pressure regulation, likely because the movement improves autonomic nervous system tone. Again, it's not dramatic in the short term, but the compound effect over a year or two is significant. Let me tell you about Linda, 74, former accountant from Oregon. She came to me after her second fall in 6 months. The first fall was in her driveway. She tripped on a crack and caught herself on her car. The second fall was in her bathroom. She turned too fast and lost her balance, ended up with a bruised hip and a lot of fear. Her doctor sent her to physical therapy, where they had her do seated leg lifts and walk between parallel bars. She improved a little, but she still felt unsteady. I asked her if she'd ever tried standing on one leg. She said she had, but she couldn't hold it for more than a couple seconds without grabbing something. I introduced her to Tanrin Undo and explained that she was going to build up slowly. We started with her standing next to a kitchen counter, holding on with her fingertips, lifting one knee just a few inches off the ground, and holding it for 5 seconds. That was day 1. Every day she added 1 second to the hold and tried to rely less on the counter. After 2 weeks, she could lift her knee to hip height and hold it for 15 seconds with just one fingertip touching the counter. After a month, she could do 30 seconds without touching anything. After 2 months, she could do a full minute per leg with smooth control, and she told me she felt more confident walking on uneven ground. Linda still does Tanrin Undo every morning, right after her coffee. She stands in her kitchen, no shoes, no special setup, just her and gravity. She hasn't fallen since. Here's your protocol for Tanrin Undo. Stand barefoot on a flat, non-slip surface. If you're not confident yet, stand next to a sturdy counter or table where you can touch with your fingertips if needed. Start with your feet hip-width apart, weight evenly distributed. Shift your weight onto your right leg and slowly lift your left knee until your thigh is parallel to the ground, or as high as you can go without losing balance. Keep your standing leg slightly bent, not locked. Keep your torso upright and your gaze forward, not down at your feet. Hold this position for 5 seconds, breathing normally. Lower your left foot with control, then shift weight to your left leg and lift your right knee. That's 1 cycle. Repeat for 1 minute per leg. If you can't hold for 5 seconds yet, hold for 2 seconds and build up. If you can't lift your knee to hip height yet, lift it as high as you can. Progress is progress. Do this every single day, same time if possible. Morning is ideal because your nervous system is fresh. As you get stronger, you can add small challenges. Close your eyes for a few seconds while balancing. Turn your head slowly side to side while holding the position. Lift your knee and extend your lower leg out straight. Then bring it back and lower. These variations keep your nervous system adapting. But start simple. 1 minute per leg every day, barefoot, next to a counter if you need it. That's Tanrin Undo, and that's the #1 movement that American seniors need to know about, but almost never do. Now let's talk about why this works and why it's not common here. In Japan, movement education for older adults is woven into community life. Senior centers offer group classes in Ragyo Taiso. Seiza sitting is still part of traditional dining and tea culture. And practices like Tanrin Udo are taught in public health programs aimed at extending healthy lifespan, not just lifespan. The Japanese concept of Kenko Jumyo, which means healthy life expectancy, drives policy and practice. The goal isn't just to live a long time, it's to live independently, without needing help to dress, eat, bathe, or move. Everything about these movement practices is designed to preserve that independence. In the United States, senior fitness tends to focus on gym memberships, walking clubs, or rehab after an injury. Those are valuable, but they're reactive or consumer-driven. We don't have a widespread culture of daily, simple movement rituals that people do at home without equipment or instruction. We also tend to medicalize aging. If you have balance problems, you go to a doctor, get a prescription for physical therapy, do some exercises in a clinic, then stop when the sessions run out. In Japan, the approach is more preventive and communal. You do these movements because everyone does them, because they're normal, because they're part of staying healthy, not part of recovering from being sick. The science behind these 3 practices boils down to a few core principles. 1. Regular movement through full ranges of motion maintains joint health and proprioception. 2. Unilateral balance challenges stimulate the nervous system and bones in ways bilateral movements don't. 3. Daily practice compounds over time in ways that occasional intense exercise doesn't. 4. Simple is sustainable, and sustainability is what creates long-term results. You don't need a gym. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need a trainer standing over you. You need 5 to 10 minutes a day and the discipline to make it a habit. That's it. The movements themselves are not magic. The magic is in doing them every single day for months and years until your body adapts, your nervous system rewires, and your risk profile shifts. That's how people in their 80s in Japan are walking upstairs without rails and gardening without back pain, while people the same age in the United States are using walkers and afraid to leave the house. Let's be clear about what these practices won't do. They won't reverse osteoarthritis or heal a torn meniscus or cure a chronic disease. They won't replace medical care or prescribed physical therapy. They won't turn you into an athlete or make you feel 30 again. Better balance, better joint mobility, better body awareness, better bone density, better confidence in your movement. That baseline is the difference between recovering from a stumble and hitting the ground. It's the difference between needing help getting out of a chair and standing up easily. It's the difference between fearing movement and trusting your body. And that difference, multiplied over years, is the difference between healthy aging and dependent aging. Here's how to put all three together into a daily routine. Every morning, right after you wake up and get dressed, do your 3 minutes of Ragio Taiso. This wakes up your whole body and gets blood flowing. Mid-morning or early afternoon, when you have a few quiet minutes, sit in Seiza for 2 to 3 minutes while you read or think. This stretches your ankles and opens your hips. Then, either right after your Seiza or at another time that works for you, do your Tanrin Undo, 1 minute per leg. That's your balance and strength work. Total time commitment is about 8 to 10 minutes spread across the day. You don't need to do them all at once. You don't need to block out half an hour. You just need to weave them into the rhythm of your day so they happen automatically. Pair them with existing habits. Ragio Taiso after coffee. Seiza while watching the evening news. Tanrin Undo while waiting for something to cook. Habit stacking makes consistency easy, and consistency is everything. If you can only do one of these, do Tanrin Undo. It has the highest impact on fall prevention and independence. If you can do 2, add Ragio Taiso because it covers everything and takes almost no time. If you can do all 3, you're doing more for your long-term mobility than 99% of people your age, and you're doing it without spending $1 or leaving your house. The only cost is discipline, and at 60 or 70 or 80, discipline is the one resource you still have complete control over. You can't control your genetics, you can't rewind time, you can't undo past injuries or illnesses, but you can control whether you spend 5 minutes today doing something that makes tomorrow easier. One more thing to understand. These movements are not a fitness program. They're a maintenance program. Fitness implies getting better at something, hitting new personal records, building toward a goal. Maintenance implies keeping what you have, protecting your baseline, making sure the decline is slow and manageable instead of fast and catastrophic. After 60, maintenance is the goal. If you get fitter along the way, great. But the real win is not getting worse. Every year you maintain your balance, your joint mobility, and your confidence is a year you stay independent. Every fall you avoid is a hospitalization you avoid, a fracture you avoid, a spiral of fear and inactivity you avoid. That's what these practices give you. Not transformation, but preservation. And preservation, over a long enough timeline, is transformation. Now let's talk about modifications and safety. If you have severe osteoporosis, talk to your doctor before doing Tanrin Undo, especially the more advanced variations. If you have an acute injury or recent surgery, wait until you're cleared to resume normal activity. If you have vertigo or inner ear problems, do all balance work next to a wall or counter and keep your eyes open. If you have peripheral neuropathy, be extra cautious with barefoot balance work and consider doing it in supportive shoes on a non-slip mat. If you have arthritis in your knees or ankles, start Seiza with lots of cushion support and never force a position that causes sharp pain. Discomfort is fine, pain is not. If you feel dizzy during any of these movements, stop, sit down, and try again later. If you have a pacemaker or uncontrolled blood pressure, check with your cardiologist before starting any new movement routine, even one this gentle. Common sense applies. These are low-risk practices, but they're not zero risk, especially if you have complex medical conditions. Here's a question people ask. How long before I see results? For Raggio Taiso, you'll feel looser and more awake within a few days. For Sisa, you'll notice better ankle mobility in 2 to 4 weeks. For Tanrin Undo, you'll feel more stable and confident in your balance within a month, and clinical improvements in balance tests often show up after 2 to 3 months of daily practice. But the real results, the ones that matter most, show up over years. The 75-year-old who can still hike because they've been doing these movements for 5 years. The 80-year-old who doesn't need a cane because they never stopped training their balance. The 85-year-old who lives alone and isn't afraid of falling because their body still works. That's the result. Not a number on a scale or a before and after photo, but a life lived with less fear and more capability. One final point about community and accountability. These practices are easier to stick with if you do them with someone else. If you have a spouse or a friend who's also over 60, do Raggio Taiso together in the morning. It's 3 minutes, you can talk through it, laugh at the weird arm circles, and keep each other honest. If you have a workout buddy, even over video chat, check in daily and report your Tanrin Undo time. Accountability helps, especially in the first month when the habit isn't automatic yet. If you're doing this alone, set a daily alarm on your phone as a reminder. Put a sticky note on the bathroom mirror. Do whatever it takes to not forget, because forgetting is the only way this fails. The movements themselves are easy. The hard part is remembering to do them every single day until they become as automatic as brushing your teeth. So here's where we are. You've learned 3 Japanese movement practices that are simple, free, require no equipment, take less than 10 minutes total, and are scientifically linked to better balance, fewer falls, stronger bones, and longer independence. Raggio Taiso wakes up your joints and nervous system. Sisa opens your hips and ankles and keeps your lower body mobile. Tanrin Undo is the single most effective balance and fall prevention drill you can do at home, and it's the one almost no American senior has ever been taught. You don't need to be in great shape to start. You don't need to be flexible or strong or coordinated. You just need to start where you are and build slowly, 1 second at a time, 1 day at a time. These practices meet you where you are and take you forward at your own pace. That's the beauty of them. There's no failure, only progress. If you take nothing else from this, take Tanrin Undo. 1 minute per leg, every morning, standing next to your kitchen counter if you need it. That one practice, done daily for 3 months, will change how you move through the world. You'll trust your body more. You'll walk with more confidence. You'll catch yourself when you stumble instead of falling. You'll stay independent longer. And independence, at 60 or 70 or 80, is everything. It's the difference between living your life and watching other people live it for you. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Which one of these 3 practices are you going to try first, and why? Are you starting with Raggio Taiso because you want that morning wake up? Are you going straight to Tanrin Undo because balance is your biggest concern? Or are you intrigued by Sisa because you've always wondered about floor sitting? Drop a comment and let me know. I read them all, and I'll answer questions if you have them. This isn't just a video, it's a conversation, and I want to know what's going to help you the most. So tell me, which one and why?